Hello and welcome to my review of Anacharis Scoria or Anacharis Scoria from Forge World. This model will cost you £89. It is in fact the most expensive character in their Horus Heresy character series. Leman Russ and the Wolfkin, which is technically 3 models, is £148. But then it's this guy. He is more expensive than Sanguinius just on his own. More expensive than Magnus, Rogel Dawn, and so on. And before he was nerfed, he could take on a Primarch and win, pretty much. But anyway, he's been FAQ'd since and he's a bit less powerful. We'll go through the rules for him a little bit later on in the video. But to start off with, let's have a look at the model himself. It's a good challenge, I'll tell you that. There's lots of parts that are spindly. There weren't too many issues in terms of slippage, mould lines, gates, you name it. But it was a bit of a challenge from a hobbyist point of view. Primarchs are quite straightforward to put together. Anacharis was, a bit of an effort. You've got lots of multiple things happening here. Not only have you got 8 legs, you've also got 2 big claws at the front, and you've got a tail with 3 appendages. You've got another arm here and another one on the side. His head doesn't necessarily glue on. It's sort of, that is part of the body, and then he's got some mandible things at the bottom of him. And then on top of all that, you need to make the legs so that they will glue onto the base. I clearly haven't glued mine to the base because that would just be silly, because then I wouldn't be able to paint the base. But the base is a lovely chunk of resin there. We'll have a little look at the base first. Look at that. Probably better if I zoom in this way. So yeah, you've got all kinds of things going on here. You've got bust pipes, broken pipes, what looks like the top of a void shield generator thing. You've got rubble, rocks. I don't know if you've got any skulls. I think Games Workshop had a day off on today, but then you've got this lovely detail on these steps as well. So yeah, really nice scenic base, and look, you can see how thick that is. I mean, you know, if that was cut out anymore, I would probably put that clear glue over there and maybe put some fish in, and then you could have some kind of, you know, reservoir pond thing. I mean, I'm still quite tempted to put something over that just to smooth it over. You know, that would be quite cool, and then give it an effect that you know, the water level is quite high here, but or there's a burst pipe and it's flooded into this, because I think that is yeah, I mean, it adds to the base in somewhat, but I would prefer it if it was kind of sort of smoothed off. But anyway, that's the base, big chunk of resin there, and then you've got the detail of Anacharis himself. I mean, look, it's just, there's so much going on, but it's incredible. All the right things are going on. This is, when I think of Mechanicum, this is what I think of. These kind of, it's called Zoomorphism, where put your projections of animals onto machines or people or whatever. And this is very much a scorpion. If you've been playing Animal Crossing, you're probably sick of the little blighters, but still, they come to haunt you in Warhammer world as well. It's got this lovely weapon here on this Xanathite Abeyant. That's the thing about Anacharis. He is the character, but then this like scorpion type appendage thing that he's connected to is called a Xanathite Abeyant, and the top gun there is called a Photon Thruster, which is absolutely immense. And he's got these 2 things here, which I'm thinking are Archotech pistols. It might be the Archotech pistols below though, but then again, they look like little flamers. And then he's got this amazing scepter thing called a Voidian Scepter, and we'll go through the rules of that a little bit later on. But yeah, really decent model, lots of detail going on. You've got these claws, which you can see that there is a sharp blade hidden in there, so when they obviously clamp, that blade shuts. This one comes closed. He's got this kind of drill thing going on. He's got some probes, a little optical array thing. He's got some claws there. So yeah, instead of his right arm, he's got this big drill, and then he does have a left arm, but he's got this Voidian Scepter. Let's have a look at that spooky face. Really cool. Just this visage, this plain visage, you know, emotionless. And the instruction guide is just in here, sitting at the back. It is literally like one page, and then the other page is showing what it should look like. It shows you the easiest bits to glue, like, you know, the armor plate there and the carapace to the torso, but it doesn't go through the most difficult parts like the legs and stuff. It just gives you pictures of the legs. Oh, this is what he'll eventually look like. But in a way, if you've built any resin models before or any character series, it's going to be quite straightforward. They've shown adhesive putty on there just to hold him in place, but in a way he kind of rests on there. If you've glued him properly, he should just sit, but I still would proceed with caution in this regard, because you know, he can sort of tumble off there if, well, see what I mean? Look, that's just a prime example. Look, he tumbled a little bit, and yeah, already this came off, so I'm gonna have to glue that back, but never mind. So that just gives you an idea of, you know, the model and sort of hobby skill that you will need to build it. But like I say, if you've built a character series or resin model before, you should be all right. But it's a nice little challenge. I really enjoyed building him, much more than my most recent models, such as the Venatari and the Necron Seraptech, which will be featured on the channel soon, before the Necron releases, I promise. Okay, let's have a look at some size comparisons. So here he is next to a Warbringer Titan on the right. Okay, now I wanted to do some size comparisons with, firstly, Adeptus Mechanicus right here, because if you were playing against me and you had a large Mechanicus force and things, I really wouldn't mind if you used Anacharis as a Tech Priest Dominus. That would be cool with me. You know, I'd let you use him. You know, yes, he's got a bigger base and things, but in a way that is kind of a negative, because he's going to be harder to sort of move around the board. But still, if you wanted to use him, that'd be cool with me. But that's him next to one of those, next to a Skitari right there. Unfortunately, I don't have any Mechanicum models other than Anacharis. I certainly would like to get some, and supporting the channel will eventually aid me in this goal. But for now, these are the models that I can compare him to. So he's quite a big boy, really. He's the biggest, say, character I've got, in a way, if you don't count sort of Sanguinius's wings. Mortarion is obviously way bigger, but he's a different kettle of fish altogether. So that's him next to, you know, Adeptus Mechanicus, similar kind of faction models. Next to other character series, I've only got a few, so there's Tylos Rubio, then there's Nathaniel Garrow right there, so yeah, he's absolutely huge compared to both of them. Even Constantin Valdor, he is, yeah, bigger than him, and Valdor's 63 pounds, so, you know, Scoria is 26 pounds more than Valdor, when you look at it that way. And then, just because I can, I'll just show you a size comparison of him next to a Custodes Contemptor Dreadnought, a resin one, and then next to Venetia Kroll, and then finally next to a couple of Space Marines, because I always like to do this. So you've got Primaris on the right and a normal Space Marine on the left. He is going to, you know, dwarf your sort of standard legionaries. He's going to be quite an impressive model, and he is a bit of a showcase to a Mechanicum army, without a doubt. Really fantastic model to boost your force. Okay, so the only spare part I can see is just this little flamer type pistol weapon. I think it's like a little melter cutter, and that's it. You get 3 of these and 2 of the like claws, one closed and one open on his underbelly. So you can have him with all these if you really wish. Maybe I got a duplicate because I think this is exactly the same as one of those, so maybe I was lucky. I could use that on another Adeptus Mechanicus model or character or something at some point maybe. Okay, let me go through the rules for him. I'm not going to go through any Tech Priest Dominus rules for Adeptus Mechanicus because that is purely up to your opponent's discretion if they allow you to use him as a Tech Priest. So I will just be sticking with the 7th edition Horus Heresy rules for him, which can be found in Book 6, Retribution. So he is an HQ choice. He is 275 points. His stat line reads weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength and toughness are all 5, so very decent there. He's got 4 wounds, initiative 5, 3 attacks, leadership 10 and a save of 2+. Would have been nice if he had more attacks, but more on that later. He's an infantry character. His war gear is the Voidian Scepter, 2 Archaeotech pistols, Cortex controller, Machina Protectiva, Machinator, Array, Cyber Familiar. Special rules: Adamantium Will, Eternal Warrior, Stubborn, Battlesmith, Cyberthurgy, Patris Cybernetica, Feel No Pain 5+, Independent Character, Relentless, The Right of the Beast, the Homunculus, and Warlord. If Anacharis Scoria is the army's warlord, he has the Forbidden Protocols trait rather than rolling randomly. Anacharis Scoria may be mounted on an Xanathite Abeyant for plus 40 points. So now you're talking, it's past that 300 points boundary now. So there's going to be 315 points. Yeah, quite pricey. But what do you get for these points? Well, special rules, the Patris Cybernetica, or Patris Cybernetica. A character with this special rule may join a unit of monstrous creatures so long as they have the Cybernetica Cortex special rule, even though this would not usually be allowed. While it is part of a unit of monstrous creatures, a model with this special rule may not go to ground voluntarily or otherwise, and enemy shooting at the unit may opt to ignore the fact that the character is the closest model in the unit for the purposes of shooting stats if they wish, and instead target the closest monstrous creature in the unit if they have attacks in range. So that's nice that you can, I guess, hide him in a unit. The Voidian Scepter. A unique Archaeotech weapon, this singular device also serves as a seal of office of the Magisterium of the Voidian Consistory, the chief enforcer of the ruling Magos of the Forge World of Zana II. Made from materials found to be all but indestructible, the staff may be used to parry blows from the most powerful of weapons, as well as strike with appallingly destructive power thanks to unknown technologies concealed within it, which seemingly create entropic fields that cause matter to break apart in seconds as if tens of millennia had passed. Amazing. So its range is, well, it's just a melee weapon. Its strength, we'll get onto that in a moment, and its AP is 2. Well, that's all right then. It's a 2-handed, and it has the Entropic Destroyer special rule, whereby any successful hits with this weapon inflicts D3 wounds automatically on the targeted unit or model, or in the case of a target with an armor value, a single hull point is lost per hit. Invulnerable saves may be taken as normal against these wounds, but Feel No Pain or It Will Not Die rolls may not. That's incredible. So any successful hits, and you're getting three attacks there, you get D3 automatic wounds. Brilliant. The Right of the Beast. Anacharis Scoria's mastery of cyberthurgy went well beyond what it was permissible to the doctrine of the Martian Omniscient cult, or indeed the pronouncements of the Imperium, and enabled him through unknown means to imbue a preternatural animalism into the Cybernetica under him in combat, driving them into a madden frenzy like tortured beasts when he willed it so. The Right of the Beast is an additional cyberthurgic power, which only he may use. The power has a modifier to use of -2. If successfully applied, it affects an entire unit of models rather than just a single model. All models in the unit may reroll failed hits in assault and add 1 to their initiative, move and charge distances for the duration of the power. However, after the power is expended normally, roll a d6 for each surviving model in this unit. On the roll of a 1, the model suffers a wound with no save of any kind possible. So that's nice. You get a bit of a buff, but there's a bit of a risk as well. And because it's a d6 for each model in that unit. But it's great that they can reroll fail hits in assault, and they get an extra initiative. So I think it's worth it. The Homunculus. In addition to the other battle automata in his detachment, a single Arlatax battle automata called the Homunculus may be purchased at the standard cost and is able to take the standard listed upgrades. This represents a test bed for Scoria's arts and experiments, as well as being subject to the Forbidden Protocols trait that allows the rules that follow. This Artilax has the Paragon of Metal and Rage special rules at no points cost, but if Anacharis Scoria is slain, this model is also immediately removed from play and counts as destroyed. Warlord, Forbidden Protocols. Scoria's sins against the machine cult's doctrine were many, and he became one of the founding fathers of what in later stages would become known as the Dark Mechanicum. Long before the Horus Heresy, he had, through discovery and experimentation, begun to create certain programming protocols whose geometry extended beyond Euclidean space into realms best left untouched. As a result, those automata under his command behaved not even as machine creatures, but true predators, seemingly imbued with an eternal hunger for bloodshed and destruction without logic or restraint. They were, in fact, the first glimmerings of far more terrible things to come, but even his early works were to see him cast down for his blasphemies. If Anacharis Scoria is your army's warlord, then all Cybernetica Cortex-equipped models in the same detachment as him have the following special rules applied to them. They may make sweeping advance and run moves contrary to the normal rules for such units. If outside the Cortex controller range of a model from the same detachment, the model unit must move towards the nearest enemy unit other than flyers in the movement phase, and must make charges and sweeping advance moves if they are able to do so. This rule does not apply to models that have been given the Paragon of Metal special rule. That's pretty good then, that's another buff. Xanathite Abeyant. This unique system grants him the following when equipped. +1 wound, so he's now got 5 wounds. +1 attacks, he's now got 4 attacks. Move through cover. Very bulky, hardened armour, it will not die, and a Photon Thruster, which can be fired in addition to his usual shooting attacks. And then it goes on to using Anacharis Scoria in your games. Anacharis Scoria is an Archmagos Dominus and can be used as an HQ choice if in both Tagmata Omnissiah and Legio Cybernetica armies. If included as part of the army's primary detachment, he must be the army's warlord. He may not be used as part of a loyalist allied force. So there you go. You have to have him as Tagmata Omnissiah and Legio Cybernetica armies. What does this Photon Thruster actually do though? So for the Photon Thruster, we have to go all the way to a completely different book, the Mechanicum Tagmata Army List book that was first published in 2015. Holy moly. Anyway, if we go to the back of that book, you've got a list here for the Photon Thruster, which is it's pretty ridiculous actually. It's a 48-inch range weapon. That's okay. So it's a 48-inch range weapon. It's a strength 6, AP 2, heavy 2, lance, blind, and gets hot. So pretty ridiculous weapon. Basically a strength 6 las cannon. It's not as good as the dark fire cannon. It's best described as howling needle-thin beams of utter blackness able to pierce the densest matter, slashing and slicing armoured men and machinery apart like razors, leaving pulsing waves of darkness in their wake. So I hope that gives you a lovely image of what they're capable of. You've got Photon Gauntlet, Photon Thruster, or the Darkfire Cannon. The Darkfire Cannon is a bit better because it's a range 60-inch, strength 7 weapon, but everything else is the same. The lance rule isn't actually in the codex, which is quite odd because quite a few other rules are, such as Radphage and Crawling Fire, Lingering Death, things like that. And in my opinion it should be, but I guess it's kind of like a leftover from 7th edition. But lance is Essentially, any unit with reinforced armour special rule that's hit by a lance weapon is not allowed to re-roll its saving roll. So that's all it really means. I thought it meant something else, because I think Eldar can have that. I think Bright Lances have the lance rule, where any armour values over 12 were counted as 12. That may still be the case with this, but that's the only kind of information that I can read on what Lance does nowadays. And there you go. That is my review of Anacharis Scoria. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a fantastic model that that really tests your hobby skill. Rules-wise, he is incredible. Yes, he has been nerfed, but despite the price, I think he's just fantastic, and I would love to see more and more characters made for Mechanicum, because I think there's so much creativity rather than just, oh, it's another 7-foot tall transhuman in power armor in a different pose. I would really like to see Forge World continue with their Mechanicum range and the creativity that they funnel into that army. Based on this model alone, I'll definitely be picking up more Mechanicum models from Forge World, so please stay tuned to the channel for them, and you'll see some size comparisons with the larger models too. Hope you've enjoyed this review. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. The Emperor Protects.